A few moments later.
Final. Come, championship bound, baby! Woo! Big cup, baby! Woo! Here, man. It got a little crazy out there, but we made it through.
We're gonna keep stacking the day, so see you in the championship.
Bow, bow, bow! Let's go!
This wasn't just a game, it was payback, and the date was already circled in red. June 17th looked like just another Commissioner's Cup semifinal until Jacy Sheldon took things too far, driving her finger straight into Caitlin Clark's eye. Accident? Yeah, right. What happened next turned this rivalry into a full-on war.
All hell broke loose between Jacy Sheldon and Sophie Cunningham, and it is very clear the Indiana Fever, some of these girls on this team are finally fed up.
One blink, one burning sting, and every grudge Clark's been storing since May 30th detonated at midcourt. That was the night Indiana lost Sophie Cunningham's ankle, Sydney Colson's knee, and any faith that referees would protect them. No flagrant, no fine, just a shrug and physical basketball. So when Sheldon's eye poke landed, Clark's vision blurred, but her memory snapped into crystal focus. The arena fell silent, then roared as Clark shoved Sheldon away, daring officials to pick a side. They chose wrong, and in that moment, the Fever's philosophy changed from next play mentality to self-defense policy. What followed, Marina Mabray's hockey check, Sophie's bear hug revenge, 3 ejections, and a blowout win proved something scarier than any highlight reel. If you cheap shot Caitlin Clark, the Indiana Fever will cash the debt with interest.
It was chippy the last time these two teams faced off too. Sophie Cunningham suffered her ankle injury in that game, but in addition to that, she actually had part of her front tooth knocked out. She made contact with Jacy Sheldon as Caitlin Clark knocks down the triple.
But what people don't talk about enough is how hard you have to work to be able to be that good. All the hours that she's spent perfecting her craft.
Retreating, firing and hitting!
So she can do that!
On Indiana arguing the call.
I mean, step back, you're late. She almost looks you in the eye.
And the tab started running 3 weeks earlier. The nightmare began 21 days before the rematch, wrapped in the normalcy of a late May grind. Jacy Sheldon sprinted after a loose ball and slammed full speed through Sophie Cunningham's planted foot.
Can we talk about the physicality for a second? 2 players on the Indiana Fever got injured last night by the same player on the Connecticut Sun, and that was Jacy Sheldon. And I tweeted about it. She was playing so reckless. I'm fine with players playing aggressive, but there is a thin line between playing aggressive and playing reckless. When you dive for a ball, you don't land on somebody's leg. She landed on top of Sydney Colson's leg, and her leg got stuck and literally twisted around. Both injuries, both Sydney Colson and Sophie Cunningham, were contact injuries.
The crack wasn't audible, but the chipped tooth and swollen ankle told the story. 6 minutes later, Sheldon dove again, this time across Sydney Colson's knee, twisting it like a pretzel, 2 guards down before halftime. Yet the whistle barely squeaked. No replay stoppage, no flagrant review, nothing but stunned silence and the Suns bench high-fiving.
This is a reckless play. This is reckless. It is dangerous. And this angle makes it look even worse. It is dangerous. Like, Sid Colson is between her and the ball. Sid Colson is in fact between Jacy Sheldon and the ball, and she dives through her knee. It wasn't even called as a foul. It wasn't even called as a foul.
They weren't non-contact. They weren't ACLs, they weren't Achilles, they were contact injuries caused by the same player. And this kind of physicality that the WNBA they brag about. They say it's always been a physical league. That's just the heart of the It's not good basketball. And we've seen so many injuries. Paige Becker's out with a concussion. Rakia Jackson was out with a concussion. All of these injuries are contact plays. We've seen Caitlin Clark last year get chucked to the ground. We saw Angel Reese get clothesline chucked to the ground. The players continue to do it because the refs are allowing them. Why wouldn't you keep doing it if you're a physical player?
League HQ later called it aggressive hustle, a phrase that felt like sandpaper to Fever fans replaying the collisions frame by frame online. Cunningham hobbled into a boot. Colson iced a grapefruit-sized knee. Clark, recovering from her own quad strain, sat on the sideline cataloging every bruise. Coaches fired off polite emails about player safety, answered with copy-paste boilerplate about the WNBA's physical heritage. Translation, handle it yourselves. That snub forged a vow in the training room. The next time Indiana saw Connecticut, the scoreboard wouldn't be the only thing settling up, and Clark marked June 17th on the wall like a countdown clock.
Her mortal enemy took out a player. Jacy Sheldon. Caitlin Clark's mortal enemy. Jacy Sheldon.
But she wasn't the only Fever guard loading receipts. While the league tried to move on, Caitlin Clark was grinding through rehab like every rep was a grudge rep. Quad iced. The film running on a loop, she replayed Sheldon's collisions until she could quote the timestamps. 3 weeks later, June 14th, Clark stormed out of the tunnel against the undefeated New York Liberty. Leg taped, eyes on fire. She didn't just check in, she set Gainbridge Fieldhouse ablaze. 32 points, 7 threes, and the kind of swagger that makes champions chew their mouth guards a little faster.
She just texts me. She never texts me during the game.
All right. Here is Clark splashing home a three from way downtown. Kelly escorting her back to the bench.
Jacy Sheldon is there with her hand in her face.
Fans called it a fairy tale comeback. Clark called it step 1. Between ice baths, she briefed her teammates on the next step. June 17th, Connecticut. No apologies, no hesitation. She reminded Sophie Cunningham how it felt to drag a boot through the airport. Reminded Sydney Colson of every wobble on that swollen knee. Reminded herself that revenge tastes best when it's served on the scoreboard. Practice turned into rehearsed payback drills. Hard hedges, tighter screens, controlled fury.
And Caitlin Clark are talking to the official. They're both going at it saying, hey, oh, there's a little extra right there. Uh-oh. And Marina steps in to protect JC.
So when Clark laced up for the Sun rematch, she wasn't returning from injury, she was launching a mission. Sophie taped spicy across her wristband, Sydney tested her knee in full sprints, and the locker room buzzed with a mantra, protect our own. The Liberty upset was headline gold, sure. But what erupted 3 nights later made that victory feel like a mere warm-up lap.
Third quarter we go. They're trailing by 10. Keep an eye on her and Jacy Sheldon. Clark trying to back her down. Sheldon, that was Clark, hitting her in the face. Clark is upset about that. Then everybody's upset about that. Marina Mabry comes in. She decks Clark. Tempers flaring on both sides.
Tip-off felt like a fuse sizzling. Sheldon glued herself to Clark, chest to shoulder, chirping every time the ball left Clark's hands. Mid-third quarter, the moment hit. Clark backed her down near the elbow, spun, and Sheldon stabbed for the ball, except her index finger speared straight into Clark's right eye.
I mean, is that displacement? I think it is.
Oh, and Marina Mabry's going to get ejected. If the officials saw that, Marina Mabry is going to get ejected.
Well, they're going to go and look at it. Look at Mabry. She's got a scar on one side, a scratch on one side of her face, a scratch on the other side. It's not from the game today. I asked her about it. She's always in the mix. There's a lot of contact here. There's a scrape across the face. That's what Clark didn't like.
Clark recoiled, palm over her socket, vision flashing white stars. 10,000 Hoosiers inhaled the same gasp, waiting for the whistle that should have come gift-wrapped with a flagrant. Instead, a ref raised both arms and whistled Clark for a technical when she instinctively shoved the rookie away.
Take another look as we try to figure out what exactly went down. So you see her get hit in the face. Jacy Sheldon doesn't like that, and everybody on the team doesn't like it. Marina, trying to have her teammates back, pushes her down. You see a little bit of drama all the way around. Tina, Charles, Clark, and Mabry, they received technical fouls. Sheldon received a flagrant 1 foul.
The scoreboard operator couldn't type fast enough to beat the boos. Clips of the poke looped on the big screen, each replay sharpening the crowd's rage. Clark's eye watered, her jaw set. Meanwhile, Sheldon jogged to midcourt, smirk firmly in place, watching Indiana's star get penalized for protecting her own eyesight. Coach Stephanie White slammed her clipboard so hard the plastic cracked. Commentators sputtered on air, searching for any rulebook logic. They found none.
And then Marina
Marina Mabrey comes out of nowhere and chucks her to the floor. Now let's watch this in slow motion. Here, Jacy Sheldon is guarding Caitlin, swipes her in the face. There's one. Going for the ball, swipes her in the eyeball. Caitlin's gonna have to start wearing goggles. And then Caitlin pushes her off of her, like, why are you still in my face? Marina Mabrey, bat out of hell, chucks Caitlin Clark to the ground.
The refs had chosen a side, and it wasn't the one wearing navy and red. But that injustice was only the appetizer. What barreled in next turned the game into a full-blown street brawl.
Now after this, you guys, of course, the referees are going to review the play because that's a lot of contact going on right there. That's a lot of unnecessary contact. That's a lot of non-basketball contact happening during this play, right? So the 3 referees that I like to say, they got them straight out of Sephora because I don't think these referees have ever refereed a professional basketball game in their life. They took these referees, they were at the monitor, they looked at it for, I'm not even exaggerating, you guys, like 15 minutes. 15 minutes they are watching this play over and over.
Clark had barely blinked the tears from her aching eye when Marina Mabrey came barreling in like a linebacker who'd lost the ball and found a vendetta instead. One heartbeat, Clark staggering toward the wing. The next, she's airborne. Body check square in the ribs, leg scissoring, ponytail snapping horizontal before she slams onto the hardwood. The crowd's roar mutates into a collective snarl, white hot and primal. Refs sprint to separate jerseys, but the damage is stamped into every replay. Mabrey never reached for the ball, she reached for Clark's sternum.
And there's Mabrey right there with the hip check, the shove. That's the eye gouge. And then right there, good God almighty.
Gainbridge lights dimmed as officials huddled at the monitor. 15 excruciating minutes of loop, rewind, loop, while social feeds detonated. Now Protect Caitlin trended worldwide in 9 minutes flat. Former pros ripped the officiating on live podcasts before the review even finished. Yet when the Zebras re-emerged, they lobbed the exact same penalty at Mabrey that they'd pinned on Clark. A single technical. Equal punishment for an eye poke victim and a drive-by assailant. It felt less like justice and more like slapstick.
The announcers here are saying, of course, Marina Mabrey is going to get ejected because that was unwarranted. She literally came out of nowhere and chucked Caitlin Clark. There should be a flagrant one, of course, on Jacy Sheldon because she swiped her and hit her in the eyeball. Whether it is intentional or not, you can still have a flagrant a flagrant foul called on you, whether you are trying to intentionally hurt somebody or not. But this is what they called, you guys. This is what they called. Caitlin Clark, Marina Mabrey, Tina Charles were assessed with technical fouls on Tuesday. Caitlin, Marina, and Tina Charles. Technical fouls. That's it. Technical fouls. That's it. And Jacy Sheldon was assessed with a flagrant 1 foul, and no players were ejected.
Coach Stephanie White erupted, vein bulging, voice cracking, pointing so hard she nearly flung her wristband into the upper deck. This is what happens when you let it go, she barked, the sideline mic catching every syllable. But refs had moved on, and their silence hollered louder than whistles ever could.
When the officials don't get control of the ball game, when they allow that stuff to happen, and it's been happening all season long. It's not just this game, it's been happening all season long. This is what happens, right? This is what happens. You've got competitive women who are the best in the world at what they do, right? And when you allow them to play physical and you allow these things to happen, they're going to compete and they're going to have their teammates' backs. It's exactly what you expect, right? Out of fierce competition. So I started talking to the officials in the first quarter, and we knew this was going to happen. You could tell it was going to happen. So they got to get control of it. They got to be better.
Fourth quarter clock bleeding under a minute. Game already iced at 87-70, and yet Sophie Cunningham is prowling the arc like she's just checked in. The Sun try one last feel-good fast break. Ball in Jacy Sheldon's hands, the very hands that carved up ankles and eyeballs all month. Sheldon sees nothing but open hardwood. Sophie sees a bill that's come due.
Sophie Cunningham is going to continue to fight people for messing with Caitlin Clark.
So now let's talk about Sophie Cunningham. Cunningham. At the end of the game, Jacy Sheldon is going for a fast break layup and Sophie Cunningham is running with her. And I remember in my head, like it happened in a split second and I said, oh, let's see. Let's see what happens here.
She rockets from the weak side, corralling Sheldon in 2 long strides. No wind-up, no clothesline, just a bear hug so tight it feels surgical. Arms wrap torso, momentum halts, and both bodies thud onto the paint like dropped luggage. The whistle finally screams a flagrant 2. The crowd screams louder, half in fury, half in cathartic relief. Sheldon pops up ready to swing, but Cunningham's already walking away, chin high, mouthing, "Don't touch my squad."
Last year, I think something we noticed, and I think a lot of people noticed, is when Caitlin would get bullied, nobody would do nothing.
That's right.
Sophie commits a hard foul on Jacy Sheldon. Again, as Jacy Sheldon is going up for a layup, Sophie bear hugs her and takes her to the ground. What I will say is Sophie did not grab her and throw her to the ground. She didn't body slam her. She didn't do anything, in my personal opinion. Maybe I'm biased here, but I'm gonna give you guys my straight up honest opinion on this. She bear hugged her, took her to the ground. Yes, it was intentional. It was absolutely intentional.
Benches empty, security hustles. Clark drags Sophie to the sideline while fans chant Sophie, S-O-P-H-I-E.
The Indiana Fever fans were chanting, Sophie, Sophie. Sophie's jersey is gonna sell out tonight. She's gonna be in the All-Star game tonight just from this one play because she was standing on business. It wasn't a dirty play. It was an intentional foul and it was meant to send a message. It turned into a scuffle and I don't think anybody wanted that.
The officials toss Cunningham, Sheldon, and Lindsay Allen like unruly concert goers. Yet Gainbridge treats Sophie's ejection as a standing ovation curtain call. And somewhere in that chaos, an unspoken truth inks itself across the league. Cheap shots carry compound interest in Indiana.
Payback for what was happening the entire game. But she did it in a way that she wasn't gonna injure Jacy. She was just making it known, like, if the refs aren't gonna handle it, I will handle it. We'll take care of it, but this is not what you're going to do when you come into our house. It was an intentional foul. It was a hard foul. She brought her down. But with that, you guys, Jacy Sheldon got up and she was ready to go. So as you guys can see in this video, a whole scuffle breaks out. Sophie and Jacy are going after it. Both teams are running over, trying to break it up. It kind of goes into the fan section a little bit.
The vengeance will be the highlight looped for years. The Fever punched their first Commissioner's Cup ticket. Cunningham punches her name onto every rival's scouting report under handle with care. But before Indiana can hoist any silver, they'll have to march into Minneapolis. And the Lynx have been watching this revenge tour with notebooks wide open. Now picture July 1st in Minneapolis. Target Center packed, $1 million bounty on the line, and Cheryl Reeves Lynx clanking warm-ups while a sea of red Spicy Sophie jerseys invades the lower bowl. Clark's eye is still bloodshot, Cunningham's tooth still sandpapered, and Natasha Howard's double-double engine still rumbling. The refs, they'll hear Gainsbridge echoes every time they swallow a whistle. The league, they're drafting new enforcement guidelines, which is corporate speak for we can't handle another viral riot.
This is what the WNBA wants. I don't know how you can come to any other conclusion at this point, is that this is actually, they believe that this is what sports fans want to watch. No, I mean, if I want to see this, I'm going to tune into hockey. All right, and I'm a huge NFL fan. I'm used to hits. The hits don't bother me, but we're playing basketball here.
So here's the challenge, viewer. If you believe loyalty beats instant stardom, drop CC and Spicy Sophie in the comments. If you think the Lynx can snuff this fire, stake your claim below. Receipts will be checked after the final buzzer. Smash subscribe, ring the bell, and keep that algorithm honest, because we'll be courtside in Minneapolis ready to cash every prediction, every hot take, and every flagrant memory. One thing's certain, this cup final isn't just a game, it's a verdict on whether heart still matters in professional sports. Stick around, the verdict's coming, and the Fever just entered the courtroom wielding matchsticks.